Welcome to the Wild Crone Wisdom podcast with your host Vinutha Mohan. In this episode, through a symbolic story from ancient India, we explore the difference between hope and magical thinking, uncovering how to turn wishful dreams into real, actionable change. Have you ever caught yourself lost in a daydream, picturing success without taking any real steps to get there? Maybe you've thought, things will change once I get that promotion. Or, my relationship will improve once we are married. But, is that hope or just magical thinking? Today, we explore an ancient tale that teaches us a powerful lesson about the dangers of wishful fantasies and the true nature of hope. In ancient India, a poor beggar lived in the holy city of Kashi. He sustained his life through begging for food and money. Many days he would receive nothing much and would have to go to bed hungry. Despite his poverty, he was arrogant, egotistical, entitled, and had a violent temper. One day, as luck would have it, the beggar got quite a bit of rice flour with which he could make rice gruel. The beggar was delighted. He brought his begging bowl home and tied it up to the low ceiling of his hut and lay underneath it on his cot. Soon, he fell fast asleep and started daydreaming. In his dream, he imagined that a great famine had struck the city of Kashi the next day, and there would not be a morsel of food anywhere. Suddenly, his pot of flour would become very precious. He would sell his pot of flour to the highest bidder and get 2 gold coins. With these coins, he would buy himself a couple of goats. Soon, the goats would procreate and become a herd. He would trade in his herd of goats for some cows and buffaloes. Within a short time, he would become the largest supplier of milk in the city. Then he would sell his milk farm and start trading in precious gems. Money and fame would follow him in abundance. He would build a large mansion with beautiful gardens and orchards. Hearing about his name and fame, the king of Kashi would offer his beautiful daughter's hand in marriage, which he would gladly accept. Although a princess, he would expect his wife to be humble and subservient to him. She would obey his every command. Soon they would have a few kids. He would also raise them with strict discipline. If either his wife or kids disobeyed or misbehaved, he would show them who is in charge by kicking them with his strong legs. In his sleep, he kicked violently until his foot hit the pot, sending it crashing to the ground. The flour spilled across the floor, and with it, all his dreams vanished. This ancient tale from the Panchatantra is a classic example of magical thinking, building castles in the air without any real foundation. How many of us have become victims of magical thinking at various points in our life? I'm pretty confident that each one of us can identify at least one example of magical thinking. Children often amuse us with their magical thinking and fantasies. In fact, such imaginary play is often very healthy for their brain development and creativity. However, as adults, such magical thinking can only get us into trouble, sometimes very serious trouble. I once had a client who saw certain irresponsible behaviors and immature tendencies in her boyfriend while they were dating. He was an adolescent in an adult's body. Hoping that something would change in him after marriage, she married him. But alas, nothing changed. Then she hoped that having kids would perhaps force him to grow up and had a couple of children all the while seeing his behaviors only getting worse. A decade and two kids later, she found herself in some serious financial trouble, facing bankruptcy, credit card debt, and a bitter divorce. The sad part of the story is that at no point did he ever give her any evidence to the contrary that he was interested in adulting. He hid nothing from her. It was all there in plain sight for her to see. However, a combination of denial, magical thinking, and fantasy power whispered in her ears as hope. Such magical thinking can happen in marriages, parenting, business goals, career aspirations, addictions management, and so on. Hope versus magical thinking. The key differences. How can one discern when we engage in hope versus magical thinking? Brené Brown draws on the work of American psychologist C.R. Snyder, who came up with hope theory. According to Snyder, hope is a cognitive process with three key components. Number one, realistic goals. Number two, flexible plan and the tenacity to follow through. And number three, belief in oneself. In other words, agency. Our behavioral patterns do not change without effort, motivation, and a sensible plan. We must first start with making realistic goals. Goals have to be SMART, S-M-A-R-T. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. If you do not set SMART goals, then there is a risk of falling into magical thinking. Do not choose fast, fun, and easy over difficult, time-consuming, and challenging goals. Once you have established some realistic goals, then it is important to come up with a sensible plan. A plan is sensible if it matches your competence and resources, and also has provisions in it for alternate choices. A good plan is like a guitar string, not too tight, not too loose, just the right tension. Finally, a healthy attitude is required to take it to completion. Confidence in oneself, courage to seek help when needed, self-advocacy, determination, tenacity, growth mindset, and a belief in an abundant universe with whom you are co-creating. Hope and power go together. Hopelessness, powerlessness, and magical thinking go together. Brené concludes that at the heart of hope is tolerance for disappointment, determination, and a belief in self. At the core of magical thinking is fear of disappointment, entitlement, and performance anxiety. Hope is a process. Hope is learned through hard work and determination. Hope is power and trust. In the words of Emily Dickinson, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tunes without the words and never stops at all. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, am I hoping or am I just dreaming? Transform wishful thinking into real, powerful change by setting realistic goals, flexible plans, and believing in yourself. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay hopeful and stay empowered. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wild Crone Wisdom with your host Vinutha Mohan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist from the Bay Area, California, specializing in trauma and attachment repair. I'm also a certified EMDR specialist and a certified shamanic practitioner. In this podcast series, we delve into the journey of our spiritual essence having a human experience. While many social scientists study human emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, and others explore transcendental experiences, few bridge the gap to help embody the spiritual wisdom in everyday life. I call this the psycho spiritual path. Through this podcast, I hope to share bite sized practical insights for navigating life as an empowered sovereign being. If you found this episode valuable, we'd greatly appreciate your support. Please consider rating, reviewing, commenting, and subscribing on your podcast platform to help us reach a wider audience. You can explore more of my writings on Medium by following the link in the show notes. We'd also love to hear about your experience, so feel free to share your thoughts with us at Wild Crone Wisdom Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you for being part of our journey. Please be advised the information provided in the Wild Crone Wisdom podcast is intended for general information purposes only. Vinutha Mohan is a licensed therapist and healer. However, the content shared in this podcast does not replace or constitute professional advice, therapy, or counseling. It is essential to consult with a qualified mental health professional for personalized guidance regarding your unique circumstances. Thank you.